Welcome to the Teaching a Rockstar podcast, and on today's episode, we got my pal bringing it back, Joe Beckman. And man, this is one of the best speakers I know on the road out there, doing it for kids and teachers, making a difference in the lives of people that have dedicated their life to make a difference in the lives of kids. And he's got it all going on. Listen, the first thing we're going to talk about is this thing I've been dying to know more about, is this online hub he has for human connection, and he's going to detail that thing, because if I try, I'll mess it up. Here we go. Teaching a Rockstar podcast with Joe Beckman. Let's do this.
This is the Teach Like a Rockstar podcast with Hal Bowman.
Before we get this thing cranking out, a quick word from our sponsor, the Boston Scally Company. I have found the absolute best caps on the internet at bostonscally.com. The Boston Scally Company is the online purveyor of caps with the most attitude. Some people refer to them as a flat cap or a Gatsby or an Ivy cap, but the cap everyone is really looking for is the traditional Boston Scally cap. Founded by the son of a lifelong educator, the Boston Scally Company designs and sells caps that capture the unique culture of the Boston people with an authentic style that is filled with blue-collar sarcasm, rugged integrity, and a truckload of attitude. Pick up the authentic Boston Scally cap at bostonscally.com.
The Teach Like a Rockstar podcast with Hal Bowman.
All right, man, break this thing down for me. How does this hub thing... First of all, don't tell me how it works. How did it all come to mind?
Yeah, so about 6 years ago, I was working for another organization, and I was leading retreats all day long. So I would do these 5-hour, day-long programs, and they were inspirational and impactful and motivational, and yet they were one day. And I kept rattling the cages of all the people at the nonprofit that I was working at, saying, there's got to be more, there's got to be more. We have to create something that will extend beyond the one day. And although they affirmed that it was a good idea, they also affirmed that there was not enough people to possibly see all of that through. And so I'm the sort of guy that I guess I can only hear no so many times before I go, okay, then I'm going to figure out how to do it myself. And so that was kind of like the first sort of steps for me to walk away and start my own company and my own business, was this idea of creating live events. That was great, but really more so of how can we extend that beyond the one day, and how could we create something that schools could use that would be short, like bite-sized, like character-based clips that didn't take up a lot of time and also didn't cost a lot of money. And so over the last 5 years or so, we've been putting together all the little kind of pieces that go into it. And although it's still early on in the whole process, we're pretty excited about what we got.
Dude, it is a monumental undertaking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you were first telling me about like what you were going to do, kind of what you had going on behind the scenes, I was like, how is that even possible? I mean, you're basically putting together, it's like an online university it's just the mountain of content that you guys have created is crazy.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's not even like a curriculum in the sense that most people would see like something like this in a normal situation. It's almost more of a library. I always call it like the Netflix of character education, right? When you go into Netflix, they don't tell you watch video A before you watch video B and then do follow-up lesson C. They say, here's what you got. You know, you're an adult, you know, if you want to watch a Western or a documentary or a horror film or whatever. And we feel the same sort of applies. Like, you're an adult, you know better than I do what videos you need in your classroom, and we can absolutely provide you a path. But I think what teachers are missing so much in the education world, number one, is autonomy and the ability to kind of pick and choose what they need at that moment with those students. And so I'm really excited that it's not a curriculum, that it is a library, and it's awesome that we'll continue to add to that library. Videos like this will get added to that library, and more original content. You see, we have videos for students, we have videos for teachers, and we also have videos for parents. And so as we continue to grow this out, that library, just like Netflix, will continue to grow and grow and grow.
Man, you know what I love about it is a couple of things. Here's the first one. Like we're always talking about in terms of teachers, and you know I don't hear these conversations with parents, but because I'm so deep into the teacher world, is we're always talking about meet the kids where they are.
Yeah.
And if it's a curriculum, then that's a little bit challenging because we got to put together thousands of versions of curriculum to meet the kids where they are because all these kids are in different places. But if it's set up like this Netflix library, you really can pick and choose what you need for what kid on that day. And it's perfect in those terms.
Yeah. And again, it's short too. It's not anything that's going to take a mountain of time in order for you to accomplish. You don't, and all the lesson plans. So we have follow-up lesson plans that go along with each of the videos so that if you had 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or heck, if you had 45 minutes of a class time, or if you're a leadership group and you're looking to fill afterwards, we have all of that created. And so not only are the videos short and you could just use those, but we also have the ability to go deeper if you wanted. And the best part of those is that was not created by me. Like I could have, but the experts are the people who are on the front lines. So we partnered with counselors and teachers and administrators from all over the country. And that's the best part about the work that we get to do. We get to meet the best of the best, right? When we're at a live event, whether it's in Texas where you live or Minnesota where I live, we get to see the 5 or 6 or 7, sometimes 15, 20 different like real true rock stars that live in a school. And then we get to pick their brains afterwards. And I think I would be doing a huge disservice if I didn't take the brilliance that they had that I get to see and share it with other people. So we use them as a way to follow ups for some of our videos. And yeah, I'm excited to continue to do more of that.
Yeah, man. And here's the other thing I love about it is I'm not saying this happens at every school, but I'm going to tell you that most of the schools I go to that have some sort of a homeroom built into it, especially at the junior high and the high school level, they have some sort of a homeroom where these kids come, where it might be 30 minutes or something. For the vast majority of them, man, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. It's just bad. It's not good.
It's
here's why.
Glorified study hall at best.
Yeah. Here's
right?
why. Yeah, let me say this, man, is because teachers want to make a difference. They want to do the work, man. They just don't know what to do or how to do it. And what I love about what you've created, it gives them everything they need.
Yeah. And the best part about it is, well, I keep saying the best part, but one of the other best part, and it's affordable too. Like it costs us to make these videos and to put it on a website and to all of our sort of like business costs that go along with it. But we're hoping, at least as we continue, as we're launching it in year 1 and hopefully in year 2, that we have it at a price point that teachers can afford, because we know that everybody is stretched very thin the way it is. And so we're hoping it would be really cool if we could get a sponsor like you have, right? If we get to make backwards hats for us and sponsor out so we can give it away. But in the meantime, we're keeping the cost pretty low and just trying to get as many people in the door as we can so that we can test it out and see what else we need to create. And one project that's new to it that is incredibly exciting is a project for little kids. We have a lot of stuff for like high school and middle school, but we had very few things for elementary, and especially younger elementary. And so we partnered with an animator out of Iowa who used to create for Disney. And we put together our very first cartoon series called the Happy Cave Kiddos. And it's based on my 3 kids. And it's just character-based cartoons where they get into situations like any kids would get in elementary or middle school, and they have to kind of figure their way out of it. And I'm excited about that, just because I think there's very little out there for kindergarten, first grade, pre-K, things of that nature. And when's the best time to start talking to kids about character? As early as you possibly can. So
yesterday,
providing another option for the youngers as well, which we're excited about.
Yeah, man. Here's what's cool. It's like you've kind of crowdsourced the content, because that's the truth, man. Like, how many times this happens to me all the time. I was just talking about the superintendent yesterday in Quitman ISD, and we're having this conversation, and I was telling her like how many times I have come into some school, like her schools, and I walk by a classroom and there's some amazing educator just killing it in there, or some counselor doing this amazing work, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be here like sharing, and they have this amazing rock star on staff. Now I think it's just great that you've given those people a voice, because I love that they're getting celebrated for the experts that they are.
Man, I was just reading, I don't know if this is something you're feeling or seeing or experiencing, but it seems like the state of state right now with educators is lower than it's ever been. And from a morale standpoint,
Yeah.
I see more face. I just was on yesterday on Facebook, and a very good friend of mine who I've known for 15 plus years, who is an incredible fourth grade teacher at an elementary school around us. She wrote this long post about how much she loves her students and how much she loves her job, and yet how she's never felt more disrespected, more beaten down by
Yeah.
the system and sort of the ripple effect that happens beyond, that goes with the system and parents. And it's just sad. It's sad to think that the most important job on this planet is not seen, and not like, it's not put on that pedestal like it should. And I hope that this is something I want to highlight the best of the best out there, because I want other people to be inspired, to see that their voice can be something that extends beyond just their classroom, and that their impact goes further than just the four walls of their building.
Man, it's so true. These just the monumental challenges that educators have right now in the classroom, and increasingly so every year. It's astounding. And then you see the number of teachers that are leaving. And just when I don't know about you, but when I stand on stage at a conference or something like that, just in the last few years, the average age is drastically dropping where I'm looking out. And years ago, man, like 10 years ago, maybe average age was mid to late 40s.
Yeah.
And now it's like late 20s, early 30s might be average age. It's shocking.
And the average amount of time that teachers are in the profession is 3 years. And so it's like this cycle of younger teachers, which is great, right? That energy is awesome and their ideas are awesome. But I mean, think about it. When did you start getting good as a speaker? I don't know about you, but I've been doing it for 18 years. Probably like year 11 is when I started feeling like I really had my feet underneath me. The same thing goes probably for any profession, including teachers. And now, by the time they get into year 10 or 11, they're so burnt out that this should be the prime time, right? This is when they should be the best of the best, and doing, like when they're like their wisdom and their experience is really sort of like all that investment for all that time is paying back. And it's like those people are leaving, and it's like, man, we need that wisdom. We need those veteran teachers to be kind of the guiding light for the young people who are coming in.
Hey man, is there anything that you can see that they have in common? Like those teachers that you see, they have 8, 10, 12 years of experience, and they're still fired up, and they're still getting after it, and they're still just so passionate. They seem like they're a first year teacher. I'm like, man, are you new to the business? And no, man, I've been doing this for a decade.
Yeah.
And is there anything that you found that they have in common that keeps them right there?
I would say like one thing that I generally see is obviously like the passion for the subject that they teach. It seems like they still, if they're a history teacher, they still love history. If they're a math teacher, they still love math for whatever reason, right? If they're an English teacher, they still like, they have that fire in that subject that they teach, and they really feel that what they're teaching is making an impact. I feel like that's inherently at the core. But then the other thing I also see, at least in the latest experience, is they also have like at least one, if not two, other teachers that can help build them up, that help them through those tough moments and those lower times. And I've met plenty of teachers along the time that have that second or third person, and they don't even go to the teacher's lounge for lunch. They all just kind of hang out together, and they feed off that positive energy with each other. And I think having a tribe within the tribe, I think that's incredibly important.
It is, man. And there's a thing that I do when I take my Be the One event across the nation, and we're in schools. One of the, I give them some options of things, some actionable strategies that teachers can do right now. And one of the things I throw out there and give them an option to do is we call it the daily hallway huddle. And it is when a group of teachers, 3 or 4 teachers, come together at a predetermined time every day for just 1 minute. And I make them, and we have to do it. We'll practice. It happens less than 60 seconds. And each one of those 4 teachers loudly and proudly describe something that's amazing that's happening with one of their kids in their classroom. And they stand right there in the middle of the hallway as kids are changing classes and doing their thing, and they with passion they talk about those amazing moments that are happening. Because I think for me, man, what I've realized is for lots of educators, it's almost as if they get numb to the magic because they see it every day. Like when if someone from outside the school world would come in and stand in the classroom, they would be in tears and they would be emotional. And I can't believe what's happening with these kids. This is amazing. But because we're teachers and we see it all day, every day, we're kind of numb to it and we miss the moment. Yeah. And I think when we're forced to stop and recognize it and celebrate it with other educators, that right there, man, is so much fuel.
What an awesome idea. Like, I feel like, again, like, let's take that, make it into a 2-minute clip and share it with everybody out there in the world. Because think about, and I know it sounds small and it sounds, to some, it could sound cheesy or whatever, but yes, like we need that. Our brain needs that. Our heart needs that. I mean, think about what's happening just with the physical connection, number one. Number two, like you're saying something that's positive. You're listening to other people. You're validating. And let's not stop and like, let's not, forget about what all the kids are seeing. They're seeing, you're doing it in the hall in front of them. So they're seeing adults that are connecting, laughing, smiling. It's like a win-win for everybody involved. I love that idea.
Man, I can tell you stories about these schools that have taken it to like next level because it gets so good. Then they have to think, okay, how can we make it better? Because they're teachers, that's how they think. And they'll start out with some sort of floor stomping, clapping chair, and then they'll start bringing crazy hats, and they get outfit, and then they have a cheer they set up before they do their daily hallway huddle. And now they have kids that are circling around like 5 concentric circles deep behind these teachers because they want to hear if they're going to get shouted out today or get recognized for the stuff they do in the classroom. Man, it's powerful. I can tell you, listen, this dude. I know of a school where a teacher she went to have her baby, and within 3 weeks she was back once a day. She'd get her kid ready, a newborn, get the baby, and get back in the building with her baby, holding her baby, so she could be there for 1 minute for a daily hallway huddle. She's still not teaching, but she wants to come out for the hallway huddle. It's amazing. Yeah,
that is really cool. There's a school that I work with in the western part of Iowa. It's this big acronym, AHSTW, and they are incredible. And every day the principal that brought me in, we have these stickers that say "I love your face," and so she's like, if you give me like 500 of them every day, I'm going to pass them out to different people. And she started this daily difference maker challenge. And she just makes a short little post online, and she gives, takes a picture of a kid with their I love your face sticker, and she calls them their daily difference maker. And she's been consistently doing it. And now she's starting to receive, she's like, today I received 6 direct messages from kids and parents saying, I have your daily difference maker. I saw this. And she's like, and it's not little things that they're doing. They're continuing to take it bigger and bigger and bigger. And so it sounds small. It's a sticker. It's a small Facebook post. It's a huddle that you bring people together. But like you said, what people do with that small idea, all you're doing is giving them like a little seed, and they just water it and take it to a whole nother level. And then it becomes expected, right? Like I bet there are teachers who, like you said, like they're coming in to not miss the hallway huddle, right? Or kids would be like, hey, whoa, like, where's my sticker today? Like who got the daily difference maker? Like they start remembering it, and you're just, all you're doing in a very basic foundational level is you're adding joy to a place that needs joy. Like this is a place that we spend 8 hours every single day doing really difficult brain, like challenging things. It's not easy to be in school. And so anytime you can add more joy into the mix, you are making it a stronger place for everybody involved. And if it's as small as huddling up or giving a sticker, then great. Let's keep doing that.
Yeah. The other thing, man, you were mentioning about the passion for the content, and you know what else is true is yesterday, man, I'm still like emotionally drained from my event yesterday in Quitman High School and Quitman ISD. And when we end the day, what we do is after school we had a group of like 50 or 60 student leaders at the high school, and we put them in the auditorium with their teachers. And it is an emotional moment of teachers describing deeply what they want for their kids as a result of them spending their life. These are the most influential adult in their lives, and they know it. And here's what I really want for you. And oftentimes, really most times, that it's the first time they've ever heard their science teacher not say a word about physics, not say a word about biology. It'd be the first time that their math teacher didn't say anything about math, didn't say a single number. And they talk about like the passion they want that kid to learn and to figure out like who they are and what they want to do and how they want to contribute to the world. And at the same time, brother, we because of the work I do that day and the hours I spend with those kids, they're at a place where they can describe and articulate clearly the difference that's being made in their life by their teacher right now.
Yeah.
And it is heavy with a ton of tears and a ton of hugs and those beautiful moments, man. Like you can see those educators becoming refueled in that moment. And what I've come to realize after like doing this event is we just don't provide teachers with enough evidence that it's working. That like we don't do we do a great job with academic achievement and attendance and data. We're killing it there, all the objective stuff, but the subjective stuff, we just because it's happening, we just don't show teachers the evidence and the proof of it. And what people I think really fall short sometimes and not really believing is how deeply our kids want to tell their teacher how much they mean to them.
If you just give them the platform, they will share stuff that is like incredible. You're right. Not how deeply we need to receive it, but like how deeply we want to give it. Right. Like, it's like, it's a give, it's both. And it's like just hearing what you're talking about, the teacher standing up and just giving the thoughts and ideas and inspiration to kids and how kids need to receive that, but how kids also want to give it back and they want to share that back. They want to let them know, and they just sometimes don't have the words for it and they don't have the opportunity. So is that what you do in like a day with like the, what is it? The Rockstar program? What do you call it?
Well, the Teaching a Rockstar event is that's my PD thing for teachers, but the Be the One event is where we're really trying to do what you do, man. We're trying to shift school culture in a single day and really shift the momentum and get it going and steepen the trajectory of a culture on a campus. And for me, it starts. I typically don't do that full school assembly. I simply work with those student leaders for hours and hours and hours, and teachers and administrators, and we do breakout sessions, and then we bring in everybody together at the very end after school. And in those moments, I think I know because you spent years working with small groups of kids, and I did too in school, so I knew it and you knew it. But what I find are people are dramatically surprised at how deep kids not just are willing to go, but how deep they want to go in terms of helping an adult understand how much they mean to them. Yeah,
I think you're right. And I think just giving them the opportunity and, like you said, giving them the language is so incredible. And we need that. Like as a human being, you can be the toughest person in the world, the most callous person, and yet we all need to be reminded that what we do matters. And what I read is that's the two reasons that teachers leave the profession the most is, number one, they don't have enough autonomy. They have people breathing down their neck, telling them what to do every second of the day. And B, they don't get enough thanks for what you do. And you're making a difference. And that can come with the principal putting a hand on the shoulder and just saying that, or it can be a student who gives a deep, heartfelt sort of message, like looking eye to eye, and a teacher. But we need that stuff in order to keep going every single day. Like you said, we need evidence that it all sort of works and that we're making a difference.
And it's also amazing how little evidence, when I was in the classroom, how little evidence I needed. I need just a little thing every once in a while, man. Just get, every few weeks, just a little something. Maybe it was a kid I saw in the Walmart. It's like, Bowman, hey, man, I'll never forget that class. It was awesome. And it's like, oh, there it is. Thank God I needed that. I'm good for another month. Where I, it's not like these monumental, mountaintop moments that we need to provide for teachers daily on the daily, man. It's just every once in a while, give a kid an opportunity. I always tell principals, man, if you don't have kids kicking off your faculty meeting, you are missing out, man. Like, kids need to be there to kick that thing off and talk to teachers and what's happening in their life and the differences being made because of being in this school family. Those kids want to do it.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And you're right. The opportunities are there for us. I get messages all the time from kids, and sometimes it's deep, heartfelt, like you changed my life sort of moments.
Yep.
And a lot of times though, it's just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like, man, maybe that's just from a spiritual sort of sense, like little angels, like all around, just being like reminding me, like, keep going, bro, keep going, going, keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right path. And because in a weird sense, almost in the opposite way that a teacher maybe doesn't feel it, I, as a speaker, I do hear it all the time. And I do get messages from kids that say, you're making a difference. And in a weird way, you can become numb to the positive too. Right. Yeah. And so you have to, like, if you are that rock star teacher and you are doing lots and you are hearing it all the time, and in a weird way, that part of it can be, you can become numb to too. And you stop realizing truly, like, kind of what a difference you're making, and that you have to continue to sharpen your sword. And then you continue to do what you're doing every single day, and don't rest on your laurels, sort of thing, because, like, keep doing what you're doing. Like, that helps remind me to keep, going every day, even when I still get a lot of stuff that's positive on a daily basis.
Yeah, man, I get those messages too, and I always reply with the same thing. Don't worry, I don't give up, brother.
Yeah.
I don't quit.
Do you reply? I reply to every single message.
Yeah, man.
Anybody who takes the time to write out of their day, to have the courage to write, like, if I can, I reply to every single one.
Yeah, I had a unique one. I don't even know how this happened, but a teacher somehow found my cell phone number, and she said, I'm sure you get tons of messages, but I was just in the convocation, and I want to leave you a message, and left me this. I still have it on my phone. Like, I'm not going to erase that. Like, I probably listened, I think, 500 times, It's the fact that she took the time to, dig in deep into the Google and find my cell phone number somewhere and call me up and leave me that message. It's awesome.
I was in Omaha, Nebraska. It wasn't very long ago. I'm telling you, this is the most amazing story. I get a call on my phone. I'm like, oh, California. I was just there a couple weeks ago. It was the same city. And all of a sudden I go, hello. I normally don't answer these calls because it's normally a telemarketer or some kind of robocall or whatever. I said, hello. I said, is this Joe Beckman? And it's this young voice. And I'm like,
oh my God.
Yeah. He's like, hey, my name is Alex, and I go to Green Hills Elementary. And I was like, Alex, what grade are you in, Alex? He's like, I'm in 5th grade. And I was like, Alex, are you telling me that you found my number? Because I've been looking for it for 3 weeks. And he just keeps going on. He's like, man, I was like, bro, I know this doesn't, like, he's like, can I call? And he goes, can I call you tomorrow? And I said, no, you can't. Like, there's phone calls we have after this point, but I have to let you know how much respect that I have for you for finding where, like, you can find me, getting my number, giving me a call, having the courage. I don't think I would have ever had that. And so I called his principal and I said, hey, I need you to know that this kid called me.
Right. Yeah.
Do like a little check-in with them on, like, that sort of thing. But good for him for having the initiative and the courage and all of that. So I gave him 10 minutes, man. He asked me all these questions. I answered every single one.
Yeah. I love it, dude. It's, the other thing I was thinking earlier about those teachers that seem to still have the passion and the fire, and they're still so excited. You know what it is, man, is just about all the time when I ask them what's going on in their life professionally, what it is they are still so fired up to contribute to the lives of younger teachers. Like, they're still, giving and giving and giving and helping and helping and helping. And those teachers coming into the business, I think it's almost as if that's part of the recipe that's non-negotiable. Like, if you're going to stay fired up in this career, you have to be constantly helping up those younger people. Yep.
No, totally. Yeah. It's like I can't remember who was talking about this. Christopher Reeves was talking about, like on Larry King. Larry King was interviewing him, Superman, had that insane injury. And he said, would you ever feel down? Do you ever feel like bummed out in your life? And Christopher Reeve says, yeah, there's times when I do. And it's at that moment when the first thing I do is I go and figure out how I can help somebody else. And instantly it changes things for me. It changes my perspective, and it gets me out of my world and allows me to see that I'm part of something bigger. So yeah, it should be like on the contract, right? Like, if you're signing on the dotted line, you have this amount of days every year you got to come, you have this many professional development, you have this, and you have to pinky swear that you are going to do your best to give back to teachers that helped you somewhere along the way.
Yeah, man. For me, where it's most evident in my personal life and professional life is when I'm stuck creatively and like I'm not, whatever that spark just isn't there. I need to find somebody else in our business that we do, whether it's a speaker or an educational consultant or a school leader, and just go brainstorm on whatever they're stuck on, and then I get unstuck on my own stuff.
Yeah. That's, I think that's huge. Another thing that I think teachers that still have it, like what they possess is the ability to know, and this is going to sound kind of bad from a guy who speaks on character, but they have the ability to know when to break the rules, and they know when to push the envelope, and they know when to go places that maybe on paper you're not supposed to go. And if you go there too many times, like you could probably, get your hand slapped or whatever. But I think they know that what they need to do in that moment is more important than, the rules that they like. I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like I say that, and I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth because I don't want to say like go break, but at the same time, like when I'm talking with a kid and I'm like afterwards, like of a talk that I give, and I can tell it's a kid who's been through some stuff and like their deep soul, I'll swear, like I'll throw a couple words out here or there just to like, it's interesting because they look at me like, whoa, like you're an adult, you're not supposed to do that, like you're in education.
Yeah. He's real is what the kid's thinking. That's a real dude right there.
I know that if I break that rule and break that sort of common thing, that I'll be able to make a stride. And I think teachers who are really they know when it's time to break that and to or stop a lesson in the middle and say, you know what, it's not going well right now. Let's have a conversation about like how we can make it better. And I think they have the ability to know when to push the envelope in different ways.
Man, there's so many examples of that, when on a personal level with kids, but also in terms of what you do in a classroom. Like, listen, I was the king of, I might not listen. I didn't do everything I was supposed to do in terms of what I was doing in my classroom, what we were supposed to do in our school. But I was the king at providing my principals with the perception of I was doing everything that I was supposed to do in my classroom. Because not everything we're supposed to do is right for my kids, but it's the law, and not the law, but it's kind of their school rules. So I'm going to do that school rule, and they're going to feel like I'm doing it, which is all they want. With kids on like a great example is my work if we have some like a couple of fellas, a few fellas, in the hallway using, just like atrocious language. And I'll pull them in, into the room and close the door. It's just the four of us now. And then I can model what it looks like for time and place. It's just us, man. I can say whatever I want with me and you because it's just us. There's a time and place, man. You're out there. You've got ladies, you got younger kids, you got teachers and principals, and you got me. Yeah. Man, that language, I'm not saying I don't use it. I'm not judging the language. I'm saying there's a time and place. That's it. Smart. And sometimes when you model what that language is in that time and place right there, they kind of understand it.
Yeah. What was I going to say? So for you, what is this like as you're going into schools right now and you're working with teachers? What do you think is like the one thing that the commonality that you see behind like teachers who are still fired up and like, really passionate about what they do?
It's a few things, man. And I think it's a combination of really being in touch. And I've been really kind of harping on this lately. It's really being in touch with what they want for their kids ultimately. As a result of these kids spending their lives with these teachers. Like, I'm not talking about just a lesson plan today. Like, I know that. But using the content of your classroom as the vehicle to teach what's that one lesson that kid's going to remember forever. Because, like decades from now, that kid sitting at the class reunion, they're not going to remember the content. Not that they even need it, man. They got this stuff on the cell phone, or they're going to have it embedded in their eye chip or whatever it is in 30 years. But like, what's the real lesson that they can't find on Google, and it's going to have an impact on who they are as a person, how they live their life, how they parent their own kids. And when the teacher can truly articulate that and have that, in the forefront of their mind as they're creating a lesson plan for any class, that can happen in any class, using the content to teach that lesson. I think for those teachers, and they're good, they're not just good at doing that, but they're good at looking for and identifying the evidence that it's working.
Yeah.
And like the little things, dude, like I think it's because of social media and Instagram, and we want this Pinterest moment of, oh my God, I changed that kid's life today. It doesn't look like that, man. It's the tiniest, simplest little, it's like just a look in a kid's eye for just a second. He maybe considered what you had to say today, just for a moment. Yeah, I think that's what it is, you know?
For sure. Yeah, I think it's those moments. Like if you think about, like, I think about Mr. Westlake a lot. He was my physics teacher, and every single day he used story as a way to connect with us. He had his monologues, and it's really interesting because if anybody ever would cut him off, he'd say, "I'm sorry, it's not a dialogue. This is a monologue." And he'd have this like 2-minute story.
Yeah.
And I was a senior, could have dropped physics. I had no business being in physics, and I didn't. I stuck with it for Mr. Westlake because he just cared. He used his authenticity and his humor, and he used story as a way to build connection in his classroom. And everyone wanted to be around him, and it's like because he wanted to be around us, and like you could feel it on a daily basis.
You know what's interesting, dude, is I've taught a lot of stuff. I was a band director. I taught biology, language arts, English, study skills, leadership and mentoring stuff. I mean, but where really things came together for me is when I was teaching some leadership and mentoring things, because it wasn't real content. And oftentimes we would start, we start in cowboy position, where that means the kids would turn their desk around. We put it in a circle, and the kids would sit on the desk, put their feet in the chair, and we'd start that way. And we'd all, we just go around the circle, and we start sharing and talking. And I'm looking for the lesson. And kids are talking about what's going on in their life, and everybody gets a chance to go. And then somebody would say something, and I have a story for that. Like I've got a monologue, I've got a metaphor for that in some way. And then we would go deeper into that. And then when the kids kind of contribute to those moments, that's where we get some real value. And it took me so long to learn, it was almost too late, but I finally learned that can happen in any class. That doesn't have to happen just in that class. That could happen in world geography.
And not that it could, it should. You know what I mean? Like it should. Like yes, everything you are teaching their brain is ultimately going to change their life and could change their future, but it ain't getting to their brain if we're not first connecting with their hearts. And that starts and stops with relationships. It starts and stops with knowing the people on your left and your right a little bit better tomorrow than you did today. And every time you give kids an opportunity to get into a circle and just say, hey, what's going on today? Or how was your weekend? Or give me a 1 through 5 sort of like temperature on where you're at. You're giving kids an opportunity just to express themselves, but you're creating empathy because you're allowing people to just hear other people's stories and to know that, man, I'm not the only one who's a 1 today. I'm not the only one who had a crappy weekend. I'm not the only one who worries about this test. I'm not the only one. And I just think by doing that, that 5 minutes of investment or 7 minutes or however, 30 seconds, however you do it, like we talked about this last time, is like that is what's going to make the next 45 minutes of content really go places.
Invest a little bit up front or pay dearly for the rest of the class. That means you can, it's one or the other. You're going to pay. I just rather pay a little bit up front. Yeah. And like, I always teachers, I can't tell you how many teachers think I'm crazy when I tell them this, but like the older the kid gets, even in the secondary, junior, senior year, the more they love elementary stuff. And if you don't believe me, go announce to your class you're going to do show and tell every Friday. And you see some kids get fired up. Show and tell. I love show and tell, and that's where they get to learn, they get to know each other. And that's where we really create that classroom family that kids so want to be a part of.
Well, not only that is you allow them to be kids again, right? Like how many kids bypass like 5 years of their life just because they want to fit in with other people? Sure. And all that stuff. And so you give them an opportunity to play a game like Heads Up 7-Up that they did in 2nd grade, which is like
I've done it, man. Do that with seniors. They love it. They love it.
Or I led a retreat one time, and like for 15 minutes, I said, we're going to color. And they couldn't get enough. They're coloring pages. They're passing crayons. They did a great job. They love bringing it back like that. Yeah. So I do tell that I think it's interesting because do you see this with like high school teachers? They seem to really take themselves a lot more seriously than the
more so
teachers.
Than the other grades, for sure. There are definitely some professors in there. Yeah.
And it's, whoa, like, and that it's good because what you're teaching is obviously incredibly important, but like, also reel it back a little bit, have fun,
Yeah.
invest in some, play a Disney song, and see what side of the room can sing a little bit that louder than the other. Like do whatever, color, like you play, show and tell, or heads up 7 Up, do those little things like that, that you used to when they were little, and they'll buy into it.
Yeah, man, I was in a school recently, and one of the things I try to get schools to do, I really harp on this a lot, is I ask them what they call that time in between classes, especially at secondary, at the high school. And they said we call that passing time or whatever. And I really help them understand, let's switch that to family time.
Yeah.
Those 6 minutes, everyone in the school is in the hallway for those 6 minutes. Every teacher, every administrator, every custodian, every secretary, everybody is out there for family time. And if you can be out there for 4 or 5 minutes, well, do your 4 or 5, but of the 6, but let's spend a little bit of time out there. And there was a school where they started have little battles on the hallways, and it started with one hallway. Somebody had a karaoke machine they brought in. They started doing karaoke in the hallway. They got like a 4-minute karaoke contest. And then the next hallway they was doing the limbo, and they have all the, and the one says when somebody hallway down and set up an obstacle course, everybody teacher drug something into the hallway where the kids had to do something to go over down the hall just to change classes. It changes the culture of the school overnight.
It adds joy. You're adding joy again. And why not continue to add more in a place that could really use it? So yeah, awesome.
Another example of the kid stuff I'm bringing back for high school kids is one of the things I do a lot. I mean, just about every time now because it's so good, is when I do the Be the One thing and I went to school leaders, and yesterday we have 50 of them, is we played musical chairs. And, but we do it in a different way, man. I tell them, like, we don't remove people. We keep the people. We just remove the chairs. We just got to figure out how to get on the chairs. And it turns into a huge pile of humanity trying to balance themselves on 5 chairs or whatever, And I warn them at first. Listen, typically, if we play this thing right, somebody's going to the nurse, okay? If we're playing this thing the way it should be played, there's going to be an injury. But it's going to be a temporary. It's not permanent. Don't worry. It'll heal. And, that's just like old school fun, man. That's like what we used to do as kids, man. Just pile on top. It's a game. But it's, you know what it is, man. It's those moments that we share with those kids. The true reason I do it, like, from professional to professional, is because that's one of the things that need to happen before I earn the right to ask them to stand up and be vulnerable that afternoon. Like, we have to be silly in front of each other so we can earn the right to have that courage later.
Yeah. It's a scaffolding process, right? Like, when people, I bet there's times when people say, "Hey, can you do your Be the One program in an hour?" We don't have a full day. So,
all the time.
If you want it to be shallow and no one's going to do anything,
superficial and not work,
do it. But it takes time, and I think that's another thing that really great teachers still remember is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. That this is a relationship it's an investment. And you might not see the return of your investment for years. Yeah. But if you invest enough in kids, you will get that email or that phone call or that kid that comes up to you and says Bowman in the store or whatever it may be. You will see the return on your investment, but know that it's not many times going to be instant right away sort of, reward. It's going to take a long time. And it's something that really, it could take years before you actually see it.
Yeah. I had just the teachers, the typical teacher is so desperate to know that it's working and to see the evidence of that. And like, cause I can tell, like, I remember, I would spend just an unbelievable amount of time preparing a lesson on maybe whatever photosynthesis or something, and then we're doing a lab and it's interactive and I spend hours and I'm trying, and at the end of the day, and some kid is like, "Now what does this have to do with me being like photogenic?" I'm like, "Oh my God." It's like so demoralizing,
Yeah,
so
paying attention. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so, but here's a great example is, my kid told me this story. He's a freshman and he's in English class and they're having a long conversation about, irony and coincidence. And I know that conversation. I've done that conversation and I know it gets frustrating because trying to help kids understand at that age. And so he's in his next class. He's in his science class next, and he has his pencil, and he breaks his pencil, like the tip of the, right there at the very tip of the lead, kind of cracked off, and it's at an angle hanging off. And he's looking at his broken pencil, and then he reads on the pencil at the bottom, right by the eraser, in the paint, it's stamped in there with that gold foil stamp. It says "Unbreakable Lead," and he's got a broken lead hanging out.
Yeah.
And he raises his hand, and he says, "I need to go to the bathroom." And so he gets the pass. He runs down the hall to his English teacher, goes in there, and she's sitting at her computer. And he walks up and he holds the pencil, and he's pointing. It says "Unbreakable Lead," and he's pointing at the broken lead. And he goes, "Irony."
Yeah.
And he goes, "It happened today. Coincidence." He said, like, the teacher was overwhelmed. She got her phone out, took a picture with him, took a picture of the broken lead. Like, it was a moment like, oh my God, it worked. Somebody learned something today.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know, man. It's crazy.
I, as a parent, like, I want my kid to be part of those moments, like, all the time. Like, I want you to, like, if you have this moment, you like take advantage of it. I want to have the kid that the teacher talks about on the weekends to all the other teachers who had that moment. So I'm always coaching them up to be like, be that kid.
Yeah. That's what I told him. I said, let me tell you how we're going to do this high school thing. When you rock, I don't know how academically we're getting you across the stage, but I know this is what it's going to get you across. You're going to be the most kind, compassionate, sweet, supportive, funny.
Yep.
You're going to be that kid. And we're going to, and right across the stage at the end of 4 years.
Yep. Absolutely.
Hey man, for you, what's I know you got the hub happening, and you're still going to schools and doing conferences. For you, like, what are you excited most about right now?
Oh man, I'm really excited and fired up. I've started bringing my guitar to places, and I started
saw that
as a just a tool to connect. And the more I play, the better I get. And believe you me, I am not a real musician.
Right.
Means the fact that at this point I know enough songs that we could put together, like, even if I just did a program just on music and like use songs as a way to, like, enforce or keep kids engaged with some messages, I think we could do that. And I started playing in front of adults, and I love that part of the performance. And I love singing, and I love what a song can do to a heart. And I love taking lyrics, and I love breathing life into them. And I like taking messages and weaving it into the world of a teacher to help make sense of what they can do. There's a fantastic song by Bruce Springsteen called "Hometown." And I talk about just how every school in itself is its own little hometown. And there's highs and lows and good times and bad times. But at the end of the day, you're probably not going to remember the superficial things like we were talking about earlier. You're going to remember, like, the bones and the core of that hometown, which is the people, the teachers, the students, and the community that is your hometown. And every day we have an opportunity to make that stronger, and just then sing a song about that and let that message just really sink in. There's something super powerful about that.
It is, man. And I talk about that with school leaders. I probably don't talk about it enough with teachers, is that hometown thing. Like, we talk about, like, you are running right in the middle of Houston. You're running a little town complete with transportation, healthcare, food services. We got to, like, everything is in this building, and we shut it down at the end of the day and send them on, and we start a new town tomorrow. It really is. And also, from a town perspective, from smaller communities like where I was yesterday, like, I love that you can create the culture of a community from what you're doing in the school. And everywhere people go from now on, that's what they'll say about that town because of those kids. Like, oh, well, of course they're that great. Of course they're great. They're from Quitman. Well, of course, look, they're from Quitman. They know that's how they are. That's how they do it over there. Mm-hmm. And I love that you can kind of create this reputation for your community based on what you're doing in school.
Yeah, I would say, like, when I was in high school, I don't know about you, but, like, when we wore our letter jackets out in the community, like, like, do you still have letter jackets? I don't even know if they do have letter jackets.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Okay. I just knew that, like, every time we went out there, they told us, like, that stands for something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's what you're about. And you're talking about your hometown in that. And if you make your hometown like a non-negotiable place of respect, of connection, of character, of vulnerability and humanity and authenticity, man, that's just going to bleed out into the actions that happen from those students wearing those jackets. And you're right, it becomes that's just how they do it. And they got a leg up. They go to that school. Well, good for them. Like every school should give their kid a leg up in their community and in society by providing them with, adults that care and with moments where they can be real and opportunities to connect. And I think a school has that opportunity and responsibility every day.
And man, the beauty of it is, oftentimes when I go to these schools, and you might feel you find the same thing, is I'm reaffirming what they're already doing, and thank God that these schools are out there. Every once in a while, a principal that I've worked with somewhere else, they'll go to a new location. They have a really challenging environment where they're kicking off, they're gonna flip this school, and they'll bring me into those things. But a lot of times, the reason they're amazing is because they're hiring people constantly to work with kids and teachers and help people grow. And I love it, man. I can't talk. I just love what I see out there at these campuses. It is just overwhelming. It's just an overwhelming feeling of love so many times with those kids and teachers and administrators. It's powerful.
It is. I think there's something to be said about getting the right people. You hear about this, like getting the right people on the bus and getting making sure that your team is a strong, human connection based team, people who are really buying into your vision. And so would you say to like a principal that how important would you say like vision is, like casting a clear vision for your staff if you're the leader of your building?
It's the thing. Like that, and not just to be able not just to be able to talk about it, just to live it and describe it and be so consistent every day. The best example I've ever seen was this dude Springer here. He was a principal at Magnolia High School, he called it. And there's a new high school. It's a growing community. So he in his mind, he renamed the original to the Magnolia High School. So when they built the new one, people would know they were the original. And he had this thing called VCL, and he constantly harped on it, telling kids that they are valuable, that they're complete, valuable, complete. Like everything you need is in you, man. Like we're just going to flip on the light so you can see it. It's all in there, that they're valued, that they're valuable, they're complete, and that they're loved. Yeah. And it for years and years and years, he talked about it every day on the announcements. And then, by the time he left, I'm telling you, like it was 100% of the student body were wearing shirts that said VCL. Everything they put on Twitter was hashtag VCL. Everything they did, everything was VCL. And that vision, and to be able to articulate it clearly and consistently and not give up on it and let people feel that they're a part of it is just amazing.
Yeah. What would you say, like from their perspective, like if you could be on the hiring committee, if you're trying to create a school culture or a school that has a culture of teachers that is strong and everything we're talking about, and you're bringing people in and you're trying to vet one person from the next, like what do you think is like the single most important question you think you could ask? Maybe that's too hard of a question, but like what's a good question to ask if you could really like find that characteristic in somebody?
I don't know if I've ever needed the question, because I think what happens for me, and this is what I've learned is, and I learned this in the entrepreneur world, and you're looking for those A players is what's called in these books. And it really happens in conversation and just talking about situational experiences they've had in the past. And all of a sudden it's like this neon sign above their head with an arrow that says, it's one of us, man. Yeah. This is one of us. You got whatever it takes. Or here's the thing. Or if it's, I don't know, man, maybe that's an X. Like if there's a little bit of doubt, that's an X. Yeah. Trust me. Like, and I think once you experience a few times and you realize, oh, that was one of those, I thought maybe it could go either way, I'm just going to give him a chance. No, man, wait for the neon sign.
Yeah.
Like it's that important. And I did a podcast with Rob Carroll. He's one of my other favorite principals. He's a professor now, and he talked about he wanted people to know that this is a different kind of school and it's a different kind of staff and different kind of kids. And he's done. They did interviews in the park with kids there at the interview asking questions. They did interviews at midnight. Hey, can you meet us up at school at midnight? Yeah, I guess, just to see if they show up at midnight, and, letting me know, man, this is a place that makes a difference by being different. And it starts with the interview.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love, so interesting. I was talking to some principals the other day, and that's a very, very difficult job being a principal.
I can't even imagine.
Every decision you make as a principal, you're making 50% of your audience real happy with you, and then other 50% really ticked off. And then the next decision, it's a vice versa sort of thing. And then this the one that really sort of stuck out with me. I was talking to an elementary school principal, and he said, not only am I dealing with my own stuff in my own life, he's like, I have 27 other employees that could call me at any time of the night that will need to tell me about miscarriages, and they'll need to tell me about domestic violence, and they'll need to tell me about sicknesses, and so I'm carrying the weight of all of those other people. And every day I'm supposed to show up and I'm supposed to put my best self forward, and it can be really, really hard. It's a lonely world to be a principal, man.
Man, just for their own self-care and preservation and emotional health. Like, gosh, I know that some places do a great job. Some districts are phenomenal, but not everyone is phenomenal in that providing just a safe place and like forcing principals to get together and just share their own stuff with each other, because they can't share with their staff. To share and provide a forum where they can count on each other and keep it confidential. It's just us. We know what's going. We're principals. We know how hard this thing is, and they can process it and share and talk about their successes and where they struggle and where they feel like they're failing their school, and where they know they're doing a good job. Those conversations are critical. We just don't provide. It's like you have to force principals to do it, though.
Well, and because literally, they're like lawyers. They can't take them. They've any minute away from their phone is a minute they could be answering or putting out another fire, right? And so it's really, really tough. But I think what you're saying is in so many ways, like just like what we talked about, what principals need to provide their staff and what staff needs to provide kids is like moments of vulnerability and time where they can connect, and that like superintendents and people above within the district, it just keeps going up the chain of command. They need to be providing it for their building leaders, their principals and APs. And, I just think the strongest districts are the ones that if you keep going up the chain of command, they see how important, and they have that vision, and they see how important it is taking care of all of their people along the way and making this a priority.
I asked an administrator recently. I asked her, they had a really challenging situation going on in the district, and a really, really hard situation. And I asked her, I said, in these moments, do you think, oh my gosh, why did I sign up for this? Or do you think, thank God I signed up for this, because this is really hard and I want to be the one that handles this? Yeah. And she said that right there. I think, I've never thought, why me? I think, thank God they have me for this. Yeah. I don't want anybody else to handle this.
Wow. And
I can tell you right now, I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
Not at all. I can handle my stuff and the people around me. But those kind of challenges, I know that's not, I'm self-aware enough to know that's not my personality.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I could take some of that on, but I couldn't take, just
a school district
organization standpoint, it would be just a hot mess. Like I can't be, I always think to myself, so you have to check in with every single one of these people multiple times throughout the year. Right. Like how do you get anything else? Like it's just like that alone, like the amount of people that they are in charge of, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, man. You got any events coming up? Tell me what your next week is. Where are you next week? I
got a huge one coming up in your neck of the woods. Actually,
what are you doing down here?
There is a restorative practices conference.
Yeah.
In Dallas, Fort Worth. It's going to be huge. I think there's going to be over 1,000 people there. It's on 4th and 5th of November. So by the time this airs, it'll be probably
It'll
way
be after
past.
for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm super excited about that. I've been to Dallas before, but I'm excited that I be back, and this will be a huge conference. So I have this small hunch that I'll be hanging out in Texas a little bit more after this conference.
For sure you will. Of course you will. That's the way it works, man. I love that restorative practice thing. People don't know about it, man. That is something to check out and dig deep into. And I get a lot of photos from those conferences because apparently they show a number of my morning quotes that I post on Facebook. Yeah, so I've seen hey, I'm at the restorative thing in New Mexico, and there's one from Washington D.C. and one was here in Texas, and these are teachers that, hey, I know that guy, and I'll take a picture of the screen while they're in the conference and send it to me.
That's funny. I've actually had that before too, where people call me and be like, "Hey, I saw your video." I'm like, "Yeah, where'd you see it?" They're like, "At this counter." I was like, "I wasn't there." They're like, "Oh yeah, somebody else played it." And I was like, that's when you know, like, you're doing something great, when like other people are playing your stuff or showing your quotes or whatever. Yeah. But I just a little bit. I was like, that's funny.
Hey man, I'm heading to New Jersey on, I don't know when, Monday I think, or Tuesday, and so I'm gonna do my thing up in the Northeast.
I met a lot of beautiful people in New Jersey this last weekend. I was at the Character.org National Conference in Washington D.C. and I met a lot of people in Texas, so a lot of Houston Astro fans that were cheering on their squad, and then I met a lot of people from New Jersey. So, what part of New Jersey?
I'm going to the Gateway School. I can't remember the name of the town, but I have to get back to
you. Like northern, southern, central, like anywhere in between? Like it's hard to know at this point.
I'm going to go southern because I think I'm flying to Philly, so I think it's probably.
Oh, yeah, you're going to be southern. That's cool. That's a cool area. A lot of friends down there, so I hope you do well. That'd be great. Maybe, you know what would be really great is if we could do something together sometime. We
talk about it all the time, man. We you know what we have to do is look far into the calendar and just figure it out and pick a date and make it happen is what we need to do. Do something up there with you and then do something here in Texas with me and just do back-to-back stuff.
Okay. Let's make it happen.
All right. Hey, brother, I appreciate you doing it, man. It's always a blast to talk to you, and I love when I meet people on the road and they say, man, do you know Joe Beckman? I go, heck yeah, I know that guy. And so, man, the work that you do is spreading like wildfire, and it's because it's so important. It's so needed, man. I'm proud of you, brother. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thanks, Steve. You're awesome.
All right. Take care, man.
This has been the Teach Like a Rockstar podcast with Hal Bowman. Subscribe, rate, and share from halbowman.com/podcast.